Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Jai Shri Ram. Welcome to our next episode in our complete reading of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. In the last 3 episodes, the 100th episode, the 101 episode, then the 102 episode, all the 3 episodes, we have been looking at the Kaschit Sarga from the Ayodhyakanda, which incidentally happens to be the 100th Sarga of Ayodhyakanda. This is the Sarga where Sri Ramachandra is teaching all of us Rajadharma by asking a lot of questions to Bharatha. Sri Ramachandra is only doing Kushala prasnas here, but then when we look at the depth, we understand that he is actually checking if Bharatha is following all the steps and Bharatha is performing all the actions that a wise king is supposed to follow. In the 62nd sloka, Sri Ramachandra asks, I hope you have not run after money so much that the dharma is getting impacted, or you are not after so much of dharma that you are the artha or the money in the country that's getting impacted, and hope you have not become too much interested in kama and have neglected artha and dharma. So he is saying that all three should be given their due importance, and you should never let kama overcrowd your judgment of artha and dharma. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha, these are the 4 parts that are told to us in Sanatana Dharma. So if you are following dharma, you are following dharma, and you are ensuring that the money that you earn is linked with dharma, then, and you are in fact taking care of your wants per dharma, means when you are tying both artha and kama to dharma, moksha would automatically come, is what our scriptures say. So dharma should be on the priority list here. So dharma, artha, kama, mokshas. So you should tie both artha and kama to dharma. This is what indirectly Sri Ramachandra said in the 62nd sloka. Now in the 63rd sloka he is saying Kaschidardham cha dharmancha kamam cha jaitam vara vibhajya kalagnya sarvan varadasevase. O Bharata, O king who can win over everybody else, you know how to distinguish the time, or you know how to compartmentalize your time for dharma, artha, kama, mokshas. Okay, so you hope you are following the path of our elders in dividing your time for all these 4 activities for dharma, artha, kamas. Okay, and he's asking Kachitte Brahmana Sharma Sarvashastrardhako vidaha asimsante mahaprajna paura janapadai saha. O Bharata, hope the Brahmanas, the well-read persons in your country are giving you enough blessings. Hope they are working hard enough to ensure that you and your people are safe and sound. Nastikyam manrutam krodham pramadam dirghasutratam adarsanam jnanavata आलस्यं पंचवृत्तिताम् एकचिन्तनमर्धानाम् अनर्थज्ञैश्च मन्त्रणम् निश्चितानामनारम्भं मन्त्रस्य परिरक्षणं मङ्गलस्य प्रयोगं च प्रत्युत्थानं च सर्वतः कच्चित्वं वर्जयस्येतान् राजदोषांश्च चतुर्दशा. So here in these 3 slokas, 65, 66, 67, Sri Ramachandra has given out the things that a king should not have, the doshas of a king. So first one is nastikatva, not believing in God. Now many people might again come back and say, what is wrong if the king is not believing in God? He might go after all astikas. Many a times you see a lot of people who call themselves as agnostic, or the people who call themselves as atheists. At least a good percentage of them try convincing others that there is no God, and that finally ultimately goes back for the crumbling of the society, because there will be a lot of internal bickering, and when the ruler does not believe in God and he forces that belief on others, so it's not wrong for someone to live as an astika. The Charvaka Siddhanta in Sanatana Dharma actually proposes nastikatva up to some extent, but having that belief at an individual level is different. Having that belief as the head of a state is different, because when you're having that belief as a head of a state, you have infinite power and as a king, and you might use your power to trouble all the astikas, which is not at all needed in the first place. Hence, the first dosha which Sri Ramachandra is saying that that a king should not have is nastikatva. Then the second bad quality is asatya. A king should never speak lies, is what Sri Ramachandra is driving home here. He's saying a king should not have asatya as a part of his life. So that's the second one. The third one is krodha. If a king is short tempered, if the king gets angry very quickly, the damage that he can bring upon the entire nation. So he is not supposed to have krodha. The fourth one is pramadam. Pramadam is, he being reluctant, he not being alert. If a king is not alert, if a king is spending his time in other things other than ruling his kingdom, we all very well know how that might impact the entire kingdom, right? So he might get the whole kingdom into trouble. Okay. And then dirghasutratam. Dirghasutratam is not coming to a conclusion quickly. Just some people they really love dilly dallying their decisions, right? So that's dirghasutratam. And then jnanavatam. Jnanavatam adarsanam means he not being interested in meeting people who are pandits in their own realms. So if there is a defense expert and the king says I don't want to meet him, there is a space expert that the king says I don't want to meet him, or if he keeps dilly dallying his meetings and he just doesn't show up for the meetings with these people, then those people might go to another king, and that king using their inputs might come and conquer this king. Hence, a king should always keep his doors open, and he should always have some amount of enthusiasm in meeting people who are jnanis, in meeting people who are intelligent. Okay. And then the next quality is alasyam. He should never be lazy, put the whole kingdom at risk. And then pancha vrittitam means he becoming a slave of the senses. That's a dosha. If a king is getting into too much of kama with women, or if he becomes a slave of it, or if he becomes a slave of eating great food, then those are all weaknesses, right? If a king spends too much of a time watching music, watching dance, these five senses, if they are not controlled properly, they waste a lot of time, and a king should not waste a lot of time. Hence, he should never become a panchavruttita. And then ekachintana mardhanam means a king should never discuss, should never think about the financial stuff all by himself. Should always have a team which has got experts, and based on the expert advice, only the king should go ahead and take decisions on the finance part. Okay, eka chintana mardhanam anardhagneshya mantranam. He should never discuss important things with people who are not qualified to discuss it. Nishchitanam anarambham. If there is a task that is already decided and the king is not starting the task or not ensuring that the task is getting started, that's another dosha for the king. Nishchitanam anarambham. Mantrasya parirakshanam. Mantrasya aparirakshanam means whatever the king is thinking, that should not be known to everyone. So he should always control his thoughts. He should always ensure that his thoughts are not getting transmitted so quickly outside. That is mantranam aparirakshanam. Mangalasya prayogam cha. Mangala means something good. Aprayogam cha, not using the good deeds. Mangalasya prayogam cha. In other words, you can take the meaning as he not doing good activities. For example, constructing a dam is a good activity, and if he is not doing it, okay, that is mangalasya prayogam cha. Pratyutthanam cha sarvasaha. This is the last one, the 14th one. Here, Sri Ramachandra is saying, don't try to attack all your enemies at once. You should not fight a lot of enemies in a single time. Okay, these 14 are the Rajadoshas which a king should never have. Oh Bharata, hope you are not getting into these. Hope you are maintaining yourself, controlling yourself from entering into these sort of bad things. Now we'll move on. Dasa pancha chaturvargan saptavargam cha tatvatah ashtavargam trivargam cha vidyastistrascha raghava indriyanam jayam buddha षाड्गुण्यं दैवमानुषं कृत्यं विंशति वर्गं च तथा प्रकृति मंडलम यात्रा दंड विधानम च द्वियोनि sandhi vigrahau kachidetan mahapragya yatha vadanumanyase. Here Sri Ramachandra is saying, O Bharata, hope you are taking care of Dashavarga, Panchavarga, Chaturvarga, Saptavarga, Ashtavarga, Trivarga, all the three vidyas. Hope the Indriya Jaya, the Shadgunya, and Daivamanusha, Krutya, Vimshati Varga, Prakruta, Mandala, Yatra Vidhana, Danda Vidhana, Sandhi Vigraha. Hope you understood all these and you are implementing them as is. Now, what is Dashavarga, what is Panchavarga, what is Chaturvarga? I'll try to give a brief explanation for each one of these. Dashavarga is Mrugayaksho Divaswapaha Parivada Striyo Madaha Pauryatrikam Vrudhatyacha Kamajo Dasako Punaha. So this is not from Srimad Ramayana. Okay, this is told by Manu. Okay, what are these? The first one is Mrugayaksho, which is hunting. Second one is Divaswapaha, means sleeping in the morning. Juda, playing cards or any game of chance. And then constantly criticizing others. And then having Strilolatva, always going for the comfort with women. Mada means the ahankara that I am the best. Taurya Tikra means the Nritya and Gita Vadyas, and then roaming freely without any activity, which you see a lot in these days. Many people just roam on the streets. They don't have any work there, but they still roam on the streets. So these are called as the 10 things that come out of Kama. So he's saying, Bharata, hope you have kept all these ones aside. And then Panchavarga is Udaka Durga, Parvata Durga, Vruksha Durga, Airina Durga, Dhanva Durga. So these are 5 types of kingdoms here. So Udaka Durga is the water level of protection that you keep around your palace. Parvata Durga is the one on the mountains. Vruksha Durga is you have deep vegetation around your palace so that you always are in control and the enemy just can't come inside easily. Irina Durga is, something that's made out of Chavatavarra. So that's called Irina Durga. And then Dhanvana Durga is your desert. Okay, these are the 5 Durgas. There is another meaning for Panchavarga also, which is like the enemy, Shatru, money, woman, having a bad tongue, always talking in a very bad tone, and doing a mistake. These are called as Panchavidhavairas or Panchavarga. But either of the meanings you take, one meaning says, Oh Bharata, are you taking care of the fortifications properly? This Udaka Durga, Parvata Durga, all these are fortifications, right? So hope you are taking care of the fortifications properly, or you are keeping the 5 enemies away. Okay, then the Chaturvarga, Samadana, Bheda, Danda. These are the Chaturvarga. And then there is another meaning also for it. Aurasam Tantu Sambandham Tadha Vamsa Kramagatam Rakshitam Yasebhyascha Mitram Gyayam Chaturvidham. So people who are born out of our blood relations, people who become relatives because of marriage, people who come in our Vamshakrama, and people who have been saved by us from bad habits. These 4 also come as Chaturvarga. So in one way, Sri Ramachandra is saying, hope you are having the good Chaturvarga around you. And the other way, Chaturvarga is Samadana Bheda Dandopaya. So either of the meanings you take, Sri Ramachandra is saying, hope you are taking care of the Chaturvarga. And then he is saying Saptavarga. Then who are these Saptavarga? There are 7 people. The king, the ministers, the state, the fort, the Koshagara or the treasury, the army, and the friend. These 7 pangas or these 7 parts, they should be cooperating with each other if the state has to prosper. So that's where Sri Ramachandra is saying, hope you are taking care of the Saptavarga. I know this sloka is taking a lot of time, but then am really trying to give you the examples of or the explanation for each one of them. That's why it's taking a little more time. Then he is saying Ashtavarga. Ashtavarga is the king who follows a good way of administration. So Krushi Vanijya Durgani Setu Kunjaravandhanam Kanyakarah Karadanam Sunyanam Nivesanam Ashtavargamimam Sadhu Swasthavrutto Nalopayet. So he should be taking care of agriculture, business, fortifications, bridges. Setu is a bridge. Bridges, forests where you can actually catch elephants, mines, taxes, and creating new places where people can dwell. This is called as Ashtavarga. So Sri Ramachandra is asking, hope you are taking care of the Ashtavargas also. Then Trivarga, Dharma, Ardha, Kama, Ardhi, Trivarga. Again, you again have the other meaning, which is the Prabhu, Mantra, or the minister, and all the people who are very, very enthusiastic to contribute to the kingdom. So these are the Trivarga, and then there are Sri Ramachandra is saying Trividyas. Hope you are taking care of Trividyas. What is it? Trayi here means Vedatraya, means Ruk, Yaju, Sama Vedas. That's called as Trayi. And Varta. Varta is the discussion with other people. Dandaniti. Okay, Dandaniti is the punishment, the Rajaniti. And Varta also means agriculture. It also means saving the cows. It also means Vartakat or the Vyapara. The English word is business. So Sri Ramachandra is saying, hope you are taking care of these three vidyas. Hope they are increasing in the country. Then Shadgunya. Sri Ramachandra is asking whether you are following Shadgunya or not. What is Shadgunya? Sandhi means making agreements with other kingdoms and not entering battles frequently. Sandhi, the agreements across the kingdoms. Vigraha is where you go and fight. Then Yana, which is you actually going and fighting. Asana is you waiting for the right time to attack your enemy. Dvaidi Bhava. Okay, if you are not having enough strength and you have two stronger neighbors or enemies beside you, you talk to Shatrus in a language through which they will not come and attack you. You know you will be attacked, but you try to postpone it using your sweet tongue. Dvaidi Bhava. And then Samasrayana, when you don't have enough capability, you should go and meet a person who has enough capability. That is Samasrayana. So Sri Ramachandra is saying, hope you are taking care of all these shadgunas. You are making the right judgment and you are taking care of all these shadgunas. And then Daiva Manusha. So the people say there are five types of troubles that can come to you. This Daiva Manusha, all these five types of trouble, they come from God. Hutashano, Jalam Vyajir, Durbhiksham Maranam Tadha, Idi Panchavidham Daivam Manusham Yasanam Param. So here they are saying, see, all of a sudden something might just get burnt. That is not something that people would do all by themselves. So that's a problem that has come from the God side, Agni. And then suddenly things might get flooded or you might have heavy rains. That's something that's not under the king's control. That comes from the God. And then imagine there are rains for a lot of days, and because people are not getting adequate sunlight, some people might fall sick. So disease, and then sometimes there might not be rains at all. Then we call it as durbhiksha. And death. This also is not in anyone's control. It can come anytime. So these five are the ones that come from God, and then from people also you get five types of troubles. So what are those five types of troubles which Sri Ramachandra is asking Bharata to be careful about? Ayuktebhya chorebhya parebhyo rajavallabhat prithvipati lobhascha vyasanam panchadha bhavet. The officers or the officials of a kingdom, they might do corruption and all sorts of stuff. That's the misuse of power. That's one thing that comes from people. Theft, that comes from people. Enmity, that again comes from people. People who are close to king might think that they are bigger than the king. So that's another trouble that might come from the people. And a king himself might have a lot of greed, durasha. So that's also another trouble. So Sri Ramachandra is asking Bharata, hope you are taking care of yourself from these. And then Krutya, are you doing the Krutya? Sri Ramachandra is saying, are you doing the Krutya properly? What does Krutya mean? See, you always need to be on the lookout for people who are ready to desert your enemies. Then you have to find if they are capable enough and you should get them. Why do people desert the kings or desert the enemies? Some people who might be very money minded and they might not be getting paid properly in the enemy kingdom, try to attract them to your side. And sometimes your enemy might just insult someone and that person might be having a huge self-respect and he might have left your enemy. Be quick, move quickly and get him to your side. And sometimes your enemy might have just went and bursted on someone without any reason. So that person might be uninterested to be there in to be with the enemy. So get that guy also here. And then the last one is some people who have been unnecessarily subdued by your enemy. So have your channels open and try to get them towards your side. That's the Kritya. And lastly, the Vimshati Varga. This is the last thing that Sri Ramachandra says. And then he also talks about Mandala and Dviyoni Sandhi Vigraha. So we'll just look at those two as well in the next episode. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Sarvam Satguru Sasi Maharaj Swam Charana Arvindar Padamastu. Swasti. Jai Shri Ram.